Mine's pretty quick. It's potable water, fresh water, to meet the growing demand, and for the natural system health.
Yes, sir. I think from my perspective, I think wealth management is in essence the keys to the kingdom. There's so many different things that are going on, and we seem to internalize them here locally. I think it was about 6 or 7 years ago, Mayor Nelson from Bonita Springs put together what we called the Mayor's Alliance, and we started talking to each other about other things outside of the skirts of our cities. And we have moved that all the way up to a regional level now with counties. We've got 6 counties. And the surprise of it was, to me, is that as you look across 6 counties and you find out that this is the fastest growing state, and inside that state this is one of the fastest growing areas. And change and growth is coming right at us as fast as it can. And if we don't get a handle on it, if we don't learn to manage that growth, then it is going to be more than just an issue. It's going to be a way of life for us. And so as we look towards quality of life, we have to look at the fact that we're all in this together. We have a huge deficit in transportation in Lake County, but so does Sarasota, so does Collier, so does Charlotte, all of them. We all in the same boat together. So we have to, this whole thing about sustainability doesn't end at the border. It is the community at large.
So I would take that one step further, and I would say that regionally, we're trying to attract this younger workforce, and if we don't require within that growth management creative solutions to workforce housing, affordable for that 22 to 32-year-old that will then move into the small home and renovate it, built into that the elements that they're looking for, whether it's solar, anything that reduces the carbon footprint, because trust me, they are evaluating every single purchase they make. I think I got a light bulb from somebody as a wedding announcement recently, right? They wanted us, it was an LED, like they wanted me to save electricity, and that's how they let me know I was invited to their wedding. That's what they are about. So then if we have businesses that can't get their lower level workers to work because they can't afford to drive their car from Lehigh Acres down to Naples, again, it all comes back to transit. We could have electric transit, we could have solar transit, but as a region, the business community is complaining about it. The counties will tell you they don't have enough money. Well, if everybody gets in the room and everybody contributes to the solution, I think that everyone's going to have an opportunity and a clean way to get to work. And then I think you'll find that the younger workforce that we're bringing here, they will be on your beaches, they will be expressing that message and educating everyone else about the environmental success.
Anything else from our panelists? Well then, we have exactly 15 minutes left, which means we're perfectly on time. And so I'm going to open this up for questions from the audience. One was delivered up to me, so I'm just going to begin with this one. Okay, I'm being asked to ask you if you would write down questions on a little pad of paper, and we have people who will go around and pick up questions from you. So that would be a good orderly way to do this. Thank you, Mimi. We all understand and agree with STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Would one of the panelists like to comment on STEAM, S-T-E-A-M, where the A stands for the arts? That's certainly an appropriate question for today when we have some amazing exhibits of artwork that reflect sustainability practices here. So how about STEAM versus STEM?
I guess I'll jump in on that one.
I was hoping you would.
I think that, everybody should be educated in all areas. I just happen to be somebody who's been educated in chemistry, so I fit into that STEM area. I also play a lot of instruments, so I guess I got some of the arts in me growing up as well. And I think the reason we need the arts is because that's where students get their creativity. You can't be somebody in STEM and not be creative if you're going to have economic development. So I do agree that we need both components. I'm not saying we all need to just go to technical school and get some kind of computer programming degree. I think we need all of that. The thing that I see that limits STEAM, because I get asked that a lot, is what about STEAM? And then the librarians ask me, what about STREAM? That includes reading. And, I'm thinking, yeah, I agree with it all. A lot of the data that we're presented with looks at STEM, and some of it looks at science alone, and some of it looks at science and engineering. And so I would love to see some data on STEAM. And I think that if we're talking about education, we have to include the arts in that conversation.
I think the follow-on to that, yes, it absolutely has to be included. And I think the arts is the great equalizer. It's a language that no one knows when you start out, and it doesn't matter if you speak Spanish or French or German or English. It's a totally new language, and children from all walks of life can get together in the room and learn about the notes and learn to play an instrument. And then all of a sudden, Linda Mitchell's done an amazing job at the Bonita Middle School for Arts. Her band's now 110 students strong, and it's every child of every color and race and boys and girls. And it was, a tiny little 19-member group when she started out, just the white students. So it is the equalizer and the gathering spot.
I guess I'd just add one thing. I'm sorry. It makes me think about Pete Seeger, what he did with music to galvanize people around an effort to save the Hudson, to do so much that we do. We had an event yesterday on Captivo where we had music, singer-songwriters singing to the legislative delegation about our need for protecting our water and buying land. And we had artists. The Rauschenberg Center has a whole series of artists that compete to come here to interpret this place from their own perspective. I think that left brain, right brain balance is really important. If we're going to create whole communities, we should have whole people that live in them. So.
That's great. Some of us grew up with Pete. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Brody. Yes, my apologies.
No problem. So what I wanted to say about the arts is I don't have that skill set, but I did appreciate as I walked through seeing the ingenuity of these people and the creativity that they were showing with taking objects which we throw in the trash can and turning them into beautiful works of art. You might assume that my children are in the sciences. They're not. My daughter's a dancer and my son's a sports guy. All right. So the arts are very important, and I didn't realize how important they are until I started raising my children, and I started seeing that they have a different way of looking at the world than I do. I think that this new generation coming up, they're different. They have a different set of demands and wants and needs that, when I was 16 years old, 17 years old, I never was environmentally conscious. I wasn't really thinking about what was going on in the world. So I think that the arts are important to bring us down to, the important things in life. Proper environment, proper food, proper water, proper housing. I mean, those things are important. And without that skill set, because I don't have that skill set, without that skill set, I don't think that as a society we can actually evolve and become the great Florida, Southwest Florida region that we need to become.
Thank you. I was going to say, for anyone who doesn't know who Pete Seeger is, the younger folks, Google Pete Seeger and listen to some fantastic music. Next question, and we talked about this just a little bit in terms of millennials and cars, but there's more to delve down into. Where does transportation play a role? How does transportation play a role in all of this? Let's explore the transportation piece a little further.
Well, environmentally, we need to have really aggressive bus routes around here. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Taking cars off the road, getting people to and from work economically. There's a great new program out in Oregon where they are providing bus passes to the lowest paid workers who live the farthest away, and their bus passes are underwritten by some of the agencies at a high rate so they can have the least expensive way into work. How innovative is that? And then again, they're not using their car. So I think this region has got to get it together and pull their interest. It's probably one of the #1 issues.
Commissioner Kuiper? You want me to volunteer?
I saw you pursing your lips.
I did. You know, I have thoughts on this that probably aren't going to be terribly popular, and as that ship sailed in too many places already. We've already got a transportation system that's set up for cars, and we're having to learn to deal with those. And even though it would be great to have, let's say, an island where no one drives and everybody has a golf cart, that'd be great. Try to get them out of their car. They won't. They're going to stay in the car, and it's going to be one person per car, and that's how it goes. And if anybody doesn't remember how this last season looked to us, the gridlock on the streets are worse than they've ever been. We just had a 39% increase in tourism in 1 year. And these people are coming here, and they're getting in the cars and they're driving around. And we're trying to catch up. And you look at places, and I know Mayor Saracita's not here right now. We're going to start a $50 million project on Estero Boulevard, and it is going to be a complete street project, and it's already getting attention from people all the way from California to here. They're taking a look at it, and we're talking about providing sidewalks for people to walk on, bike paths for people to ride their bicycles on, and drainage systems and stormwater systems where we can take care of our environment while we abuse it at the same time. And so all of this is kind of working out. It's slower than you want it to be. And as we plan our new projects, we're keeping complete streets and those types of philosophies in mind, and we want them to happen. But in the meantime, and I'm going to get back to the fact that we've got a $600 million problem just in transportation infrastructure costs, but we're not the only ones. $900 million in Collier County, $820 million in Charlotte County. It's all over the place. So as much as I love the fact that we should and could do that, and we should try to do that, it's going to be a tough, tough bridge to run across.
I'm going to have to take you to task. Last time I looked, buses traveled on the same roadways that cars do. And even if everyone thinks that people won't get out of their cars, I'm telling you, these millennials will get out of their cars. And even if we just start with them, little by little, the oldest generation eventually, I mean, I hate to say this, but we're all going to die, right? So eventually, the adoption will get higher and higher and higher. And I think we have to dig in now, and eventually we won't have to supplement it so much. But it will keep you from having to build more roads. We can use what we have. So sorry.
Well, I'm there too, because I think this is part of that visioning process. How many people have been to Miami lately? I can't keep track of, I can't even imagine as I'm trying to make my way through, where would that go? These layers on layers of, I don't think we can build our way out of this, especially if we're expecting the population growth that we see forecast. I think we need to use technology, and we need to set some visions. Because I think so much comes from having a commitment, having a stated objective, And then figure out how we get there, because technology is always changing. And I think a lot of creative people create a lot of beautiful buildings and a lot of beautiful landscapes, and I think we could do it with transportation as well. And I think we just haven't really challenged ourselves to be there yet. But I think it's going to be important because we can't build our way out. And then if you take the whole stream of what transportation represents in terms of power and water runoff and the contaminants in that, if we really look at the cost of building more roads beyond the aesthetics, we might be engaged and really find that there's a much more attractive economic option out there.
Thank you. We have 5 minutes left, and we have one last question that I'd like to ask. Again, for some of us who grew up in the 60s, there was a lot about sharing of resources, and now the term sharing economy is used. So the question from a member of our audience, the sharing economy is growing rapidly. How can we be open to these new sharing markets, if you will? Because in many cases, those sharing markets are environmentally friendly. So how does the sharing economy fit in with future sustainability? Very thoughtful question. Very thoughtful question. Jump in. Sharing economy. I think sharing economy has to do with the Ubers of the world, and some of you will remember back in the 60s where there were the places, you would have in excess of something and you would bring it into a store and no money would exchange hands, and you would walk out with something. This was kind of a great social experiment of the 60s. This is something else to Google for a few of you in the room. It didn't catch on too wildly at that point in time, but here we are back with another generation, a couple generations removed from my generation, that generation. And the sharing economy is beginning to gain some foothold here.
So if we want to look like we're savvy and at least are trying to get to that next level, you go to Washington, D.C., you can get a zip car, you can rent bicycles about every other block. We should at least try to look like we're hip if we're going to try to attract the millennials and the younger workers. I'm serious. I mean, they want to work. If we're going to do the complete streets, great. Let's get the bicycles and have that be part of the sharing economy. Let's maybe Hertz has got a zip car model that they can let us put up, but that's what they're looking for. And they love the environment too. So if we want to do this, we can. It's not that costly.
I'm going to just add a short story. My brother lives outside of New York City, and he's been a long time Manhattan resident. He recently came down to visit, and I said, well, I'll pick you up from the airport. He said, I'll just take an Uber. And I'm like, do we have that here? And I had to Google it, and sure enough, we do. The cost for the 10-mile drive from my house to the airport was so high that I was like, I'll just drive to the airport. This is not, it's so right now it's not economical for somebody to come down here and get an Uber, or at least it wasn't in that story.
Final thoughts? Well, let me just wrap up in the 1 minute we have left by saying that we have drawn an interesting geometry of thoughts, at least for the visual learners. We have connected points of a triangle. I believe that this panel has certainly started off the day in a very, very robust and intellectually deep and thoughtful and planful way. We are very proud of being residents of Southwest Florida. And certainly as we see environmental degradation around the world, and we don't have to go too far from our own waters here. Of course, we're not pristine as we used to be, but we still are in a comparatively healthy mode. We go to California suffering a drought of, shall I say, almost biblical proportion. They're really worried about just running out of water. fire season hasn't started out there yet, but this is going to be the worst fire season by all estimates. We have contamination sites that need to be cleaned up. We still have population growth that we have to deal with. And we have a social, an economic, and an environmental responsibility as being in a place that many of us call paradise, to make sure that we continue paradise. And to use another 60s metaphor here, we don't pave over paradise. I'd like you to thank our panelists.
Morning. We want to give you a chance to have about a 15-minute break and come back here to restart at 10 until 11. Make sure you vote for your favorite artists out there. The voting closes at 3. Visit the vendors. If you're posting from the session, use the hashtags of sustainability. And we'll see you back here at 10 to 11. Thank you.
I don't hear those things. Yeah, we used to get those. You're right. Exactly.